Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. If you're not familiar with the Aoe2 pro scene and you might be new to the community, this is the video for you. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and showcase a bunch of pro players and their iconic civilization that they tend to pull out in tournaments. Now keep in mind this isn't necessarily their best civilization or even the best civilization. It's just simply a civilization that they tend to pick up earlier than others and that they enjoy picking. For example, it could be just a comfort pick for them and something that they rely on when they have nothing else in mind. I've got 8 players to showcase and I'm gonna just hop right in, starting off at number 8. Keep in mind this list is not in order of worst to best player. I just picked out players from the ranking system and just threw them in for as many as I can think of pretty much. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hop right in. So starting off, we've got Jordan, and Jordan is, he's been around for a while now and he's consistently pulling out good results, but the civilization I always see him doing well with and always see him wanting to pick up in his draft is the Aztecs. I've played against Jordan's Aztecs a few times myself in tournaments, most notably in Hidden Cup finals, Hidden Cup 4 finals. That game won Arabia, he picked up the Aztecs, and in general, he loves to pick up Aztecs for tournaments. It's a very comfort pick for him. He plays them extremely well. He's so patient with them. He's always making the right units and the perfect transitions. And I just feel like it's really his comfort zone. And Jordan with the Aztecs is always there to deliver. It's a pretty solid combination. Aztecs are a great civ. Jordan's a great player. When you put those together, you get a lot of solid games in tournaments here. Moving on to the next player, we've got Doubt, a fan favorite and also been around for a long time, always competing at the top, of course. He is extremely proficient with the civilization, and I dare say he almost always wants to pick it up whenever possible. However, I also will add that in recent times, like the past couple tournaments, he hasn't really picked up on the civ or picked the civ when it was possible for him. So he's still known for it, but maybe it's slightly falling off for him. We'll have to speak with him to know for sure. But his civilization that's completely iconic for Doubt is the Mayans. Now, the Mayans and Doubt go way back. He was playing them on Regicide Fortress when they were really good. He was playing them on Regicide Fortress when they were not really good. He's always playing them. It's his comfort pick. He loves how the civilization works. And, if you ask him what his favorite civ is, he is most likely going to tell you the Mayans, unless you catch him on an off day, and then he'll just tell you whatever comes, whatever civ comes to mind. But yeah, Doubt and the Mayans, absolutely deadly combination. In my opinion, he's one of the best Mayans players in the world, simply because of how well he manages the civilization and the kind of power he knows it can generate. Next up at number 6, we've got Winchester. Now for Winchester, I've got a couple options that I want to choose from. Number 1, I think this is the most iconic civ for Winchester, and it's more of a newer civ. It's the Bohemians. However, I can also throw in the Poles that came in the same expansion, and Winchester was really the first guy to pick either of these civilizations in tournaments. And these civilizations were extremely strong, but a lot of the pro players kind of disregarded them until Winchester brought them to life in some of these top tournaments. So big credit to Winchester for pulling these civilizations before anyone really caught on to how strong they were. And he didn't have the most success with them right off the bat or anything, but he did snag a couple important wins with either of these civilizations. But I'm not going to let Winchester go just yet. I've got one more civilization that is completely iconic for him as well, and that's the Goths. The reason why this is iconic is because Goths have such a low pick rate in tournaments, and Winchester is responsible for like 25% of that pick rate, because he always likes to throw in Goths in the draft to throw his opponent off or to kind of surprise his opponent, whatever the case may be. I don't know how successful his Goths pick is, but he tends to throw it in there every now and then, and it's kind of a nice one. It's something I caught on as well, but Bohemians Poles definitely a little bit more iconic for Winchester. All right, next up, we've got Mr. Yo. This one, there's zero debate. Like, there's not even a doubt in my mind. You can't even have a different opinion because this is just a fact. Mr. Yo loves his Spanish. It doesn't even come close. There's no single civilization that Yo will pick that is more iconic than his Spanish. He'll pick them on Nomad, of course, because they're great there. He'll pick them on other maps where Spanish can be good. He'll even throw them in on Arabia sometimes just to kind of catch up with the Conquistador, his old pal, the Conquistador. So for me, Mr. Yo on Spanish, he's one of the deadliest Conquistador player ever. He knows exactly how much army to make. He knows exactly how much economy he needs to sustain his pushes, and he'll either do one castle Conquistador, he'll make a second castle when it's needed, he can siege push with Conquistador, he can monk push with Conquistador, and he can switch it up entirely and just play the civ with skirms and knights and completely ignore the Conquistador when you least expect it. So he's really strong, really flexible Spanish player, and the best part about Mr. Yo with Spanish is how good his late game is. He'll pick up supremacy villagers, he'll be very hard to raid, and then he'll control the map with hussars, halberdiers, skirmishers, whatever the case may be, and he'll throw up bomber towers and cannons everywhere on the map, and it's just so hard to deal with that. All right, next up on the list, we've got Leary, and this is another one where there's like literally zero debate. I'm not even gonna try to hype it up. It's the Britons. Leary loves his archers. There's just no debate that Leary on Britons is the best in the world. I mean, simple as that. He's the best Briton player in the world, pretty much. He's so proficient with the civilization, and he will pretty much pick it in every single draft where he can pick it. Either his opponent will ban it from him, or there's just zero good maps where Britons can be played. But if Britons can be played on any map to even a decent extent, like for example, Arena, where they're not even considered the top, but they're just kind of up there, Leary's gonna tend toward them more often than not. He's had some insane performances with Britons over the years, and honestly, it's one of the hardest things to deal with. Like a guy who's extremely good at micro with an extra range over you and a great economy behind it. I mean, how do you even beat that? It's extremely difficult, and Leary with Britons is absolutely devastating. Monster civilization, monster player, put them together and you get destruction. Leary with the Britons, that's iconic. Next up, we've got Taro, and Taro has, I couldn't decide. There's honestly two, but I think the one that remains the most iconic, and I think Taro himself will also agree, he goes way back with the Civ. It's the Saracens. Now, I can't think of anyone that made use of Saracens better than Taro. When the market change first came in, he was right on it. He was making crazy builds. He was the guy who started the market, mine a bunch of stone, buy the food, and then go double table scouts with like 0 farms. And he took some really clean wins with that strategy when people were not expecting it way back when DE first came out. And in general, he'll pick the civilization on hybrid maps. He'll pick it on some water maps for some landings. He'll even pick it on land maps like Arabia and Land Madness. He loves the civilization. He's very flexible with it, and he knows it in and out. Great Saracen player, and he'll always try to catch you off guard with the civilization, to the point where people started banning Saracens against Taro because they just feared how strong he was with the Civ. Saracens aren't even considered a top 10 or top 15 Civ in most competitive settings, but Taro pushed the limits of the Civ and brought it up there himself, forcing players to ban it when going up against him. Really deadly with the Saracens, iconic civilization for Taro. The other civilization that I had to mention though for him is the Cumans. Lately he's been absolutely tearing with the Civ, and he has been developing some really strong strategies revolving around the 2TC with some tower rush, all at the same time, and he's been having a lot of success with that Civ as well. So Cumans a secondary, but for me Saracens by far the most iconic for him. All right, next up we've got Viper, and I mean, where do you start here? There's so many iconic civilizations for this player because he really is the guy that theory crafts whenever there's a change, whenever there's something new. Even if it seems bad or seems like awkward to use, he's the guy that's just gonna jump in there head first and figure something out. He's gonna make it work. And honestly, the civilization that I think about the most when it comes to Viper is the Portuguese. He was the guy that was on organ guns when they first came out. It wasn't really the scariest unit, but he made it a scary unit. He also thought Portuguese in general were actually a good civilization, or at least one that he was playing quite well. And now that they've got buffed and everyone's playing it and it's not cool anymore, well, Viper still remains at the top with the best Portuguese players, and he'll try to pick it up whenever possible in tournaments now that it's actually a very solid top competitor. However, Viper is also known for another civilization that was being played only by him before it became cool and everyone was playing them when they got buffed. But Viper was playing the Khmer when it was considered the bottom 3 worst civilizations in the game. Khmer, when they first came out, were like absolutely horrendous. They were a terrible Civ. They had like no eco bonus. They had like clunky tech trees, and they had the ballista elephant, and that's all that Viper needed. He went in there, he figured out the ballista elephant. He was doing all kinds of crazy strategies with the civilization and putting out some crazy death balls that people had a hard time dealing with. So for me, Viper is the kind of guy that plays civilizations before they get buffed, before the masses take over. He's the guy that's right in there and making the civilization great. And yeah, Portuguese for me, the most iconic for him, but Khmer a close second. All right, last and probably least, we've got myself. It's Hera. And before I want to say what my civilization is that I consider to be the most iconic to me, I want to see how much the viewers on the channel know me and know my competitive style. Comment down below, before you hear the answer, don't cheat. Comment down below what you think is the iconic civilization for me. I've got a couple myself, so definitely let me know in the comments. But for me, now the spoiler will come. My iconic civilization, the civilization that I'm always going to try to pick up in a draft whenever possible, is the Franks. I can't help myself. Franks are just too smooth for me. I like the scouts, I like the knights, I like the mobility. Paladin's a great unit. I just have to go with the Franks. One of my favorite civilizations as well, but I'm just always the guy picking Franks in tournaments. It's not to say that they're a bad Civ, they're a pretty good Civ. Other people pick them up, but some people think that they're like too predictable and they shy away from them. But I'm predictable in general when it comes to cavalry Civs. I can't resist the scout rush, although I do try to mix it up here and there, more so recently. So, trying to throw in a little bit of spice. But for me, Franks and scouts just go hand in hand, and I just love playing the civilization. So for me, Frank's iconic, but also lately I've been coining the Civ. Took a lesson from Viper. I took a bad Civ and I'm like, I'm gonna make this shit good. And it's the Burmese. Burmese, I made it good because after I started talking up Burmese, I did see them being picked up by a couple other players in their drafts. And I'm like, yo, you guys never used to pick Burmese. That's my pick. But yeah, Burmese, recently I've been discovering that they're actually just really good. Like they used to be considered really bad, like bottom 5 on Arabia, maybe even bottom 10. But lately Burmese have been really good, and I'm coining that as an iconic Civ for myself, and other people are starting to pick up on them lately as well. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if I missed out on any players and their iconic civilization. Names I left out: MBL, Nikov, Velez, ACCM. I just couldn't really think of one civilization that really stuck out, so I kind of left them at the list, but they were, you know, next up. I was trying to include them, but I just couldn't narrow it down to one civilization for any of those players. They're kind of like very well rounded and they play everything. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.